What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Norwegian football and how apparently Norwegian football is better than ever, and how Norway could actually qualify for the next World Cup. So, to be honest, here in the United States, most of us have no idea about football. We don't know anything about football. I don't watch football or follow it, but even as an American, I do know about the World Cup. I've heard of it. And apparently, Norway has not made the World Cup in 27 years. So, since I don't know anything about this or Norwegian football, I thought it'd be fun to take a look at this video and learn about where Norwegian football is today, how good it is, and how Norway could actually qualify for the next World Cup. So let's take a look.
Now, it's been a minute since Norway played in a major tournament, 25 years, in fact, a quarter century.
Wow.
As Norway last played in Euro 2000. Now, however, they
Okay.
followed up yet another disappointing qualification campaign, that being the Euro 2024 qualifiers, with one that has gone above and beyond all expectations.
Oh!
Norway aren't just getting results, they are absolutely stomping their opponents into the ground in a manner so vicious, it's like they don't want to leave anything to chance for these qualifiers.
Whoa! Like I said, I don't know anything about what's going on in football. That's really cool. Apparently, Norway is destroying other teams right now. I've heard of like Holland. I know he's a really good Norwegian football player. I don't really know anything else, but good for Norway. That's really cool. Even here in America, you never hear about American football. So it sounds like you guys are doing a lot better than us.
What, have they not played in a tournament for a quarter of a century or something? I mean, Erling Haaland said as much, kind of, as Norway continued to pump 11 goals past the Moldovan keeper, rushing to get the ball every time as if they were still a goal down in the 89th minute. The keeper, Christian Avram, later said, quote, "He was apologizing to me for rushing after every goal. He said they had to keep going because of the goal difference."
Oh, did it matter how many goals they scored total? Not just if I know with like qualifying for certain things, it's not just about winning. You have to get a certain amount of goals, maybe.
Don't worry, Avram, even if they have scored an astounding 29 goals in 6 matches and have only conceded 3, the Rabona TV jinx will take care of Norway, just as it did Greece. Just joking, of course. Jinxes aren't real, guys. Come on, grow up. But speaking of Erling Haaland, to produce a player of that caliber for the sport, rather than a fantastic cross-country skier or handball player, which they're excellent at, was a welcome surprise. But remember, before him was Martin Odegaard. 2 stars from the top teams in England, both come from Norway.
Martin Ulegaard? So there's some other Norwegian football players that I don't know about that are obviously very, very good. So it sounds like for the first time in a while, Norway has a lot of really, really good talent on its team, its national team.
Have 2 players of that notoriety within the same generation is incredible for the footballing reputation of a country like Norway. On top of guys like Sander Berge, Sorloth, and the incoming generation is pretty damn good as well. Sverre Nijpan,
Okay.
who actually signed with Man City as well. Antonio Nusa, Oscar Bob, and so many more.
Yeah, I know in Europe, football is really, really big and very important. But Norway is kind of known for, like he said, skiing and winter sports and stuff like that. Even Magnus Carlsen, like a chess player. So it's cool that Norway, such a small country, dominates or has world-class athletes in so many different things, even though you have a small population, and even football.
So how did Norway go from 3 tournaments in a row, kind of, to a major dark period, and now probably stronger than ever.
But the ominous spectre of a final group
Wow.
game against Brazil loomed large.
So what you just heard was from the 1998 World Cup, the last World Cup that Norway competed at. But prior to that, they also played at the 1994 World Cup in the USA, which was their first World Cup since 1938. In the States in 94, with 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss, they went out in the group stage with just a single goal score.
Okay, so if we're being very, very honest, Norway has not done that amazing in football. Norway is amazing in a lot of sports, but it's had trouble with football. So this is obviously very, very exciting for Norwegian football fans that he's talking about Norway having kind of a bad history, but it sounds like that could be over.
However, while they failed to qualify for Euro 96, they managed to qualify for the 1998 World Cup with quite the talented team. In all, Norway would often be seen in the FIFA World Rankings top 10 around this time. They weren't nobodies, right?
Not bad.
They were quite strong, with the likes of Tor Andre Flo, the other two Flows, Henning Berg, Øyvind Lennartsen, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ståle Solbakken, the current head coach of Norway, and Egil Olsen, the
Okay, so Norway had a period where it was good. Not the best in the world, but very, very good. Top 10. That's amazing.
coach at the time. They drew both of their opening matches against Morocco and Scotland, tripling their goal count compared to the 4 years prior in the US, but needed a win in their final match to have a shot at qualifying for the next round. But like the earlier clip said, the specter of a final group game against Brazil loomed large. Against Brazil, Norway won the match. They defeated Brazil, the finalists, with 2 goals in the final 10 minutes.
Whoa, because Brazil, I've heard Brazil is known for being good at football. So Norway had a really great team in this time period to do all this.
They then went on to play Italy in the round of 16, losing 1-0 with a 24-year-old Bobo Vieri scoring the only goal of the match, eliminating them just as they had in 1938. Euro 2000, the only European championship Norway has ever competed in, saw them finish level on points with FR Yugoslavia in the group, but going out on head-to-head as they lost 1-0 against FR Yugoslavia in Liège during the second match day.
Okay.
From there, though, it's been absolutely barren for Norway. Back in
Right. So there was a period of history where Norway was doing quite well. I didn't know about any of that. So this is cool to learn about like Norwegian football history for the first time. And then there's this drought, right? It sounds like that's what I heard, that Norway has been in a big dry period of nothing really exciting in terms of football. Is that about right?
94, the World Cup squad had a Haaland and a Sorloth, except they were, of course, Alf Ingi and Goran. 31 years later, those names are representative of the progress Norway has made. Because it wasn't just the international level, but beyond Rosenborg in 2007-2008, Norwegian sides didn't make it into the Champions League. You know, in fact, from 2010 to 2020, Norwegian's teams never even made it to the quarterfinals of a European competition. But the plans to get Norwegian football on its feet had begun much earlier than 2020.
Norway developed some kind of plan to develop its football? That's interesting. So Norway, that's cool. Norway kind of realized it needed to do something, so is there like a developmental league or something? Like Norway purposefully wanted to make set up for the future of Norwegian football.
Norway had the same realization that many emerging football nations have had. We gotta invest in our youth. If we want to develop great players, then we need to have great coaches. And in a place like Norway, we also have to have great pitches for these kids to play on, which means we gotta have artificial pitches.
I see. It's literally investing in the children, the youth, the future, literally, that will become the next great football players. And I know Norway, it's kind of difficult for somewhere like Norway because you guys have a lot of cold and a long, intense winter. So you would need to invest in artificial football fields to be able to train and do this in the Norwegian weather.
The climate just doesn't allow for natural. By the time 2015 rolled around, according to Norwegian coach Ronny Dela, quote, "If you want skills and technique, you have to play on better surfaces. They are much better in Norway, where 60% of our pitches are artificial." Part of developing talent is by giving kids in teams a place to practice and play, but you need to foster a culture of football within the community as well, within the
That's true too. Like here in America, football is not popular. Like what we call soccer, it's not popular. Not that many kids get into it or take it seriously or go pro. I don't know what it's like in Norway, if but I think you guys focus more on skiing and stuff like that, right? So there would have to be like a fundamental mind shift where Norwegians would have to get excited to play football and train football.
country as well. And that's exactly what Norway did. According to Håkon Grotland, the head of the Norwegian Football Association's player development program, quote, "Without exception, the players who are the best have played a lot of street football." So what did the Norwegian Football Association, or NFF, do? Invest in building small-sided pitches in Norwegian communities for kids to play on whenever they want, to develop.
I see. That's very smart because yes, to create this idea of like football is very accessible and common in Norway, you have to develop football fields that anybody can have access to or that kids can just get together and go to. Not these artificial places that are inside of buildings or this sounds like Norway put a lot of effort into creating an environment that was very football friendly for kids. So that's really cool. Norway did that.
Develop their skills on their own. Just as a side note, but many of Norway's top talents that are coming through and are establishing themselves right now are creative attackers and wingers, guys who would be good in small spaces. Maybe Norway was onto something here. I mean, that was a rhetorical question,
Interesting.
of course. Of
Interesting.
course, that helps. Now, I know that things like this seem obvious. Investing in artificial pitches in a place like Norway where the freezing climate doesn't allow for natural pitches year-round. Yeah, of course that helps. Investing in communities to build small-sided pitches for local kids to freely play on whenever they like.
Yeah.
Of course, that helps, not only in seeing kids develop their control and ability in tight spaces, but it fosters that culture of football that I was talking about.
Yeah. It's funny because here in the United States, there's a lot of football fields around, a lot of soccer fields. Like there's plenty. It didn't really make a big difference here. A lot of people just aren't that interested in football here, unless it's American football, which is a totally different thing.
It's all obvious, yes, but for a country to actually do it is another thing entirely, right? And you can see where it's leading. Another thing, to actually invest in modernizing your youth programs, such as Norway did. They took on the Clairefontaine type of model that France uses, sort of, and that the best young talents are sent to this national team school to get access to the best coaches in the country.
Oh.
Surely you've heard of Clairefontaine and some of the most famous graduates like Kylian Mbappe, Thierry Henry, Nicolas Anelka, William Gallas, Olivier Giroud. Norway set...
Whoa. Norway actually developed like youth programs where kids go like travel to get special coaching and stuff. That's like next level.
This up as well, sort of, called the Landslagsskolen. Sorry about that, Norwegians, which translates to the National Team Academy, the apex of which sees the best 12 to 16-year-old players from across the country training and learning together. Establishing this also established a brand new structure in Norway in that the development pyramid was created. From the lowest level to the highest, it goes zone, district team, and top group. But the investment and
Oh my god, I had no idea Norway was doing all this. This is a lot of investment and effort. And I think we're going to get to it, but it sounds like all of this has actually paid off. Because it sounds like Norway today is doing good. And it all started with all this.
development wasn't just for players. According to Transfer Room, linked below, the NFF hired 20 full-time coaches and 700 part-time coaches. These professional coaches would help develop and train the part-time coaches, where previously volunteers, often just the parents of a kid who was on the team, would just do their best from what information on coaching they could find on the internet
Whoa.
or whatever. They were actually learning best practices and techniques for getting the most out of a player's potential from the professional coaches in the program.
Oh my, I'm not aware of any of this stuff happening here in America. And that's why American football isn't really known for anything.
Now, on top of this, the domestic league and its clubs made some changes, going beyond just the modernization of training facilities, utilization of data, analytics, etc. The clubs in the league itself shifted their focus to their local talent and developing youth rather than seeking whatever washed-up player they could find in the transfer market. I mean, respect to, washed-up talents everywhere. You provide people in growing football markets a fun moment or talking point when you come to town, like seeing Steven Gerrard play at Stade Saputo in Montreal, pretty cool. But anyway.
So instead of transferring players from other countries into Norway decided to suffer a little bit and just train Norwegians instead of taking other players that might be better. That takes a lot of discipline, and that's really cool.
Those efforts show in two key stats when you look at the Eliteserien. The average age of players across the entire league is just 25.1 years old, and the percentage of foreign players in the entire league, just 30%. Here's a look at some of the top leagues, which of course have more foreign players because they have more prestigious clubs that players want to play at, and so on and so forth. But still, it's fun to give an idea of the foreign talent in each league. And so when you combine all of these things, well, here's the ingredients for a potent football program improving cocktail. Invest in facilities for your teams to play on. Invest in building a community or culture of football by doing stuff like building public pitches in communities across the country. Invest in top-notch coaching that can have a trickle-down effect of improved coaching across the country and ensure that you're...
That's what America has not bothered to do. Focus on the coaching. I think we have done some of this stuff. There are football fields available, but it's just so interesting and kind of cool to see a country like Norway come up with a plan, make an investment, make an effort, and execute this plan perfectly to improve Norwegian football, and it worked.
Our domestic league is giving opportunities to domestic talent as much as possible in order for them to establish themselves and have a real shot at a career. And what does that lead to? Well, probably at the next World Cup.
We'll have one of the best players in the world that he's going to be a Norwegian.
Yeah, I mean, amongst many, many other talents, right? Look at what Jens Petter Hauge did to Tottenham the other day. You have a young guy in Schjelderup at Benfica. Well, he's 21 now, but looks like a baby still looks young. You have all kinds of talented players all over Europe, but all of them pale in comparison to Erling Haaland. Respect to Martin Odegaard. Fantastic player, but Haaland is just an all-conquering machine generational talent. He scored...
Somebody is really, really good when a random American like me has heard of them. And even I have heard of Erling Haaland. That's how you know they're good. Because I don't know the names of many football players.
12 goals in 6 qualifying matches, 12 of the 26, that's almost 50%. For club and country this season, he's on 21 goals in 12 matches. I mean, it took Ronaldo and Messi over 100 matches to hit 50 goals for their respective countries, and while neither played as a striker, or at least not when he was young in Ronaldo's case, it's still absolutely incredible that Haaland hit that mark in less than 50 appearances, taking just 46 appearances to notch 51 goals for Norway.
I didn't know that in football, one person can make such a big difference. But I've heard of Ronaldo and Messi and Haaland, and I guess one guy can actually elevate a team to being internationally competitive somehow.
But hey, I already did a video on Haaland this season and how ridiculous he has been. The point is, this Norwegian side is virtually qualified for the World Cup, though none of them are acknowledging it.
Whoa.
They don't want the Rabona jinx, nor do they want to jinx themselves.
That's good. So it seems like Norway is going to qualify for the World Cup, which is awesome, and breaking a 27-year drought. but none of the players are gonna count that until it happens, which I think is very, very good and disciplined.
With a win against Estonia next month, they will be back at the World Cup for the
Okay.
first time since 1998, and that
So they just have to win against Estonia next month. That's it. Then Norway is in the World Cup. Wow.
long, drawn-out, barren period will finally be over. Israel's coach said that he sees Norway alongside Spain as one of the two best teams in Europe. That's also something you say about your opponent, no matter who they are, after you get absolutely smoked by them. But
Wait, does that mean Norway could do very well in the World Cup? Could Norway win the World Cup? That'd be something. I don't know how realistic this all is, but that's fun to think about.
to even be thought of in those kinds of terms, it just goes to show how strong this Norwegian side are and how they've risen from the ruin. Guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much for
That's real. Wow. This was really cool. Like I said, as an American who doesn't really know anything about this stuff, it's actually really interesting to hear about. And especially for like a small country like Norway, to do all this, all these accomplishments in football and rise up, even though maybe you've been discouraged for a while, that's a really cool story. So I really enjoyed hearing about the sort of the history of the Norwegian football, and what's going on right now is really cool. So I really enjoyed this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on Norwegian football and what you think is going to happen in the World Cup and any of that stuff. That'd be cool to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and seeing Norwegian things I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.